Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Have I lost? Was never mine. I tried to stand, but I cannot find the way to get.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Broken Legs, and it is from the debut album from the local trio The Lofty Pines, Light at the Door, which you can stream wherever you get your music. The Lofty Pines will be performing very soon at both locations of the Very Nice Brewing Company. More details coming up later in the episode. If you want to learn more about them before the events happen, though, then be sure to head over to their website at theloftypines.com.
These broken legs on the land. This old cast I no longer need. All these crushes and you will see. All run, all run.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. It's a crazy time for everybody right now, particularly in the United States, so I hope that this episode and bringing you another awesome group of musicians will allow you guys to focus on something that might bring you a little levity during some of these stressful times. I don't think I have much else to add. I'll bring up music mentions at the end of the episode, of course, but for now, our guest this week. Do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, my name is Knighten, and I am a part of the band The Lofty Pines.
And I hear that The Lofty Pines is performing at Very Nice Brewing Company very soon.
Yeah, on, I believe, Friday, November 14th, I want to say.
Ben realized later that this date wasn't exactly correct, but I'll let him correct that date later. But in the meantime, let's talk about The Lofty Pines. Who's all in the group?
Yeah, so it's me and then my buddy Darren Thornberry. He plays guitar and sings harmony. And then Carey Lewis is our fiddle player, and then he plays a little bit of mandolin as well.
And you told me before we started this interview that you are the lead vocalist, correct?
Yeah. So I am the lead vocalist. I play guitar and mandolin, and then I've written all the songs that we perform as well.
So how did the Lofty Pines begin in the first place?
Yeah, so probably a little over 10 years ago, Darren and I became friends because he had a music promotion company called Stubborn Sounds down around Colorado Springs where I was living at the time. And he and I connected online and started playing music together and became good friends. And he and I had been playing as a duo for a number of years until about 2 years ago, we put out a Craigslist ad for a string player looking to add to our sound. And then Carey was moving to Colorado from Texas at the time and ended up moving about 5 minutes away from where I live, and he came over and played with us, and it was just a really good fit, and he adds a lot to our sound for sure. So that's kind of how it was born. We didn't adopt that name until Carey joined us, but yeah, we've been going strong for a couple of years now.
And is there a particular style of music that you guys focus on?
Yeah, I mean, we say it's Americana, but there are influences of bluegrass and kind of new acoustic music, similar to like Nickel Creek or Mandolin Orange, those types of sounds.
By the way, the duo Mandolin and Orange ended up changing their name in 2021 to Watch House because one of the members of the duo, Andrew Marlin, felt it better represented the sound that he wanted to create through the duo. But speaking of the sounds that a group creates musically, are you the primary songwriter, Ben? Do you guys work on songs together? How does the process work?
Yeah, I would say I am the primary songwriter and they contribute to the arrangement of the instrumentation. Usually I'll bring an idea to rehearsal and then we'll develop it as we try some different sounds through trial and error.
And Ben, what's your specific musical background? When did you get started in music? When did you start pursuing it? All that stuff.
Yeah, so let's see. As a kid, I took piano lessons for a few years, which was probably my first musical experience. And then when I was in middle school and high school, I played drums, actually. So kind of had a rhythm background. And then I got an acoustic guitar in high school. And throughout that time and in college, I started learning some different songs. And then as I got more developed, I realized that I could experiment with songwriting. And so I started doing that probably towards the end of college, and then shortly after college, actually putting some time and energy into it. I ended up doing some open mics and some coffee shop gigs and just worked on developing my skills in that area and just developed that confidence. And then I realized that it was fun and scratched that creative itch to go out and play on my own, but I kind of created the connection of doing it with other people, which is why I took up learning the mandolin, because it's a little bit more of a collaborative instrument than just me playing guitar as a singer-songwriter. So that's kind of what led to Darren and I playing together and us eventually finding Carey.
Can you talk a little bit more about the period in your life when you actually started songwriting for the first time?
Yeah. So that was slightly after college, and I realized that if I was playing a particular chord progression on the guitar, I would hear kind of a melody in my head of what the lyrics possibly could be. And so that was kind of where I figured out my typical process, which is like coming up with some sort of chord progression that at least sounds unique to me, and then developing a melody from there that goes along those chords, and then the lyrics kind of come last in that process. So that's kind of typically how I develop a song.
What has stuck out to you about the songwriting process over the years and kept you coming back?
It is challenging, but I enjoy the challenge, and I love that moment where you see it kind of come to life with other people. I don't think there's any one thing that inspires the ideas behind the song other than just a particular thought or emotional experience that I'm going through, but I try to write them more almost as poetry that could be interpreted in different ways. So they're often not super specific because I like to keep that a little bit more, I don't know if mysterious is the right word, but just a little bit more open to interpretation. And so, yeah, I just think moments strike that feel inspiring, or if I'm just sitting down with an instrument and noodling around and I find something that sounds unique, I'll kind of think about what I've been experiencing in the last few weeks and try to develop an idea or a lyrical theme around that combination of events. But yeah, I think every song is different.
So you mentioned that you like focusing on the poetry of a song. Do you find yourself focusing on the music or lyrics more, or do you find yourself focusing on both as much as you can?
I do try to focus on both as much as I can, but I think if you don't have a meaningful melody, then the words just aren't as powerful as they would be otherwise, in song form at least. You know, if you're just writing poetry, that doesn't matter as much, but I think the combination is what makes a great song.
And is there anything that you can talk about involving the other two members' musical backgrounds?
Yeah, so Darren has been playing music, I think, pretty much his entire life. I'm not quite sure exactly when he started, but I know when he was growing up, he was in different bands and even played in a couple that were a little bit heavier metal or like grunge kind of style growing up. He has always been a songwriter and I'm not sure exactly what his training is vocally, but he's a very talented vocalist. So yeah, he's been in a lot of different bands, and he actually currently has his own band of his songs that I also am in, and I just play mandolin in that. So he and I are in two bands together, one of which is my songs, which is The Lofty Pines, and another one which is his songs. That's more of a full band sound, and there's 6 of us in there, so there's like a full rhythm section and a little bit more of a folk rock sound, I guess. But yeah, he definitely has an extensive musical background, and his whole family was musicians and are musicians. From an early age, Carey started playing violin, I know, when he was like, I think 2 years old, and he went to college for violin performance, and so he's always been involved in orchestra and performance and is definitely, I would say, a savant with that instrument. But he really can play anything. He plays piano, guitar, mandolin, violin, bass, pretty much any stringed instrument he can pick up and figure out very quickly.
And what's been fun for you about being able to perform in a trio like this?
It's been fun seeing how songs that I write can take on new paths and sounds based on the input of the other two guys. It's been fun seeing us just just develop our ability to mesh both in friendship and just playing together. I think when you get to a level of playing together at a certain point, it just feels comfortable, and we try to rehearse when we can, but we're not always able to because we all have families and day jobs and that kind of thing. So it's been cool to see us get to a point where we can kind of show up to a gig where maybe we didn't practice that week, and it still feels like we're just picking up from the last time we played.
What have been your favorite parts about being able to perform live over the years and share this music with an audience?
A couple things. It's been cool to see friends and family show up and just have a good time. It's also been cool to see a couple places that we play where people who have heard us before will show up and just say they really enjoy our music and they show up when we're there. And so that's been cool to see that fan base start to develop a little bit. And then we also recorded our first album about a year ago, actually around the holidays of this time last year. So it's been fun to see that get out there into the world and be received with positive feedback, and just to have that creative product that took a lot of time to bring it to fruition out there in the world is a really cool experience.
And is there anything that you hope audience members will be able to take away from your shows when they come and see you?
I hope that it just helps them maybe pause for a minute from their day-to-day life and problems and just hear something that's kind of refreshing and honest. And some of the songs have a bit of a vulnerability around themes like overcoming anxiety and some of those things that happen in life that we don't talk about as much, and just to see that they're not alone in that, and that when you realize that we're all imperfect and trying our best at life, that it's okay to not have all the answers, and it's okay to be taking it one day at a time. So I hope that the music kind of resonates with people in that way when they come see us.
Well, as you mentioned earlier, you guys just released your debut album, Light at the Door. Can you talk a bit about how that album came to be?
Well, I had probably, I guess it was 10 songs that hadn't really been recorded yet, and those were the focus of our first few times that we got together, was just kind of developing the structure and the format of those songs in a way that was hopefully unique. And so when we play live, we play those songs from the album, a couple new ones that I've written since, and then for longer gigs, we'll play some of the songs that Darren and I used to play before Carey joined us. And so those are all recorded on other albums that were just me as a solo artist. But anyway, I had these 10 songs that I just wanted to be kind of a bit of a different sound than the stuff that I have played in the past, and they are because it's primarily me playing mandolin. And when I play that instead of guitar, I think the songs just have a bit of a different feel to them. And so anyway, I had these handful of songs that we got together and worked out and just got to a point of being like, okay, it feels like these are where they need to be in terms of development. And now we just wanted to have a recording that captured our sound, and that was just kind of us playing live in a room, so that people, I think a lot of times the live sound of a band is very different than the studio sound based on, all the polishing and all the takes that go into that process with a typical band. But the way we recorded it is the three of us just played each song live in the same room, mic'd separately, and so it has more of that in-person feel, which along with that definitely comes a little bit less polished maybe, and more of that human element. We didn't use a click track or anything when we recorded it, so I think it's more of a natural sound. But it was a really fun process to see it come to fruition, and now we have this product that's available for people to listen to whenever they want, streaming or however they listen to music. And so it was a really fun experience.
Now, of course, the album came out back in May, so I'm sure there's no rush to make another one. But are you planning on releasing more material at some point in the future?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a little bit interested in maybe doing some singles or a smaller release, with maybe 3 or 4 songs. But I think some more time needs to pass where some more songs are written. But we have 1 or 2 now that I'll be excited to record and put out into the world.
And yeah, is there anything else about the Lofty Pines that you wanted to mention before we wrap up?
No, I think that covers most of it. Like I said, we're going to be at Very Nice in November, and then we have a Saturday in December booked at the Gilpin location, and that one is in mid-December, and that one is on December 14th, and our November show is on November 15th. So anyway, I think I was mixing up my dates there for a minute, but yeah, we'll be at the Netherland Very Nice location on Friday, November 15th, and the Gilpin Blackhawk location on Saturday, December 14th.
All right. Then I think those are all the big questions I have.
All right. Yeah. I think that was everything. You guys listeners can check us out on Instagram just by searching The Lofty Pines. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services. And then we also have a website with our gig schedule, which is just www.theloftypines.com. So you can find us online there.
Thank you so much to Ben for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. To reiterate the promotions for the Lofty Pines, be sure to check them out at both Very Nice Brewing Company locations very soon. The first show that they have takes place at the Netherland location, 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Friday, November 15th, 2024, starting at 6 p.m. The second show takes place at the Gilpin County location at 180 Jankowski Drive in Blackhawk on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 5 p.m. Also be sure to visit the trio's website at theloftypines.com for more information about them and find the trio's debut album, Light at the Door, wherever you get your music. Carey's primary musical project at this point is the Lofty Pines. But if you want to hear more from Ben and Darren, they have a ton more material available. Both of them have albums of solo material out, and you can stream those wherever you get your music. And remember that 6-piece that Ben mentioned earlier that he's a part of with Darren? That 6-piece is Mercy Club, and you can check out 2 of their EPs, Live at Bridgetown and Strangers, as well as their most recent single, Too Late, wherever you get your music. And finally, Stubborn Sounds is still around. Darren ended up leaving Stubborn Sounds in 2015 in order to pursue his own music career, but he has preserved most of the reviews and recommendations that he wrote for Stubborn Sounds at stubbornsounds.wordpress.com. The archives only go back to 2013, and the final post on that website claims that he had been writing since 2010, but still, if you want to hear more recommendations from Darren Thornberry, then be sure to check out stubbornsounds.wordpress.com. And now, for this week's music mentions. Head to Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Netherland on Friday, November 15th, starting at 4 p.m. to see the Piney Tops performing live. Eldora Mountain Resort is opening for the season very soon, and there are a ton of musical events coming up. For the opening day on Friday, November 15th, you can head to The Lift at 8:30 a.m. to see Godlaser performing live. At noon, you can see him perform in the Boombox, or also at noon, you can head to the Timbers Tap House to see Will Whalen, the artist-in-residence, performing. You can also head over to 2861 Eldora Ski Road in Netherland, the primary address of the resort as a whole, on Saturday, November 16th, starting at 9 a.m. to see Pomegranate Sounds in the Boombox, on Saturday, November 16th, starting at noon to see Food for Bears in Timbers Tap House, on Sunday, November 17th, starting at 9 a.m. to see Blue Murrian in the Boombox, and on Sunday, November 17th, starting at noon, to see Ryan Benthal in Timbers Tap House. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Friday, November 15th, starting at 8 p.m. to see the Tom LaFon Band performing live. On Saturday, November 16th, starting at 7 p.m. to attend an album release party hosted by the Jeremy Money Band. And on Sunday, November 17th, starting at 6:30 p.m. to see John Depew with Martin Gilmore. Head to the Gold Hill General Store, located at 531 Main Street in Gold Hill on Friday, November 15th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Lost Bobcat performing live, and on Saturday, November 16th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Pour Free performing live. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, November 13th, starting at 5 p.m. for an open mic night, on Thursday, November 14th, starting at 7 p.m. to see the Hot Breakfast Club performing live, and on Friday, November 15th, starting at 7 p.m. to see David Lawrence and the Spoonful performing live. Podcast exclusive announcement for Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Netherland. Head over there on Friday, November 15th, starting at 6 p.m. to see the Matt Flaherty duo performing live. Also be sure to head over there for the regularly scheduled events every single week. Every Wednesday at 6 p.m. for an open mic night hosted by Black Dog. Every Friday at 7:30 p.m. for a DJ night. Every second Friday at 7:30 p.m. for a reggae DJ night. And every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Jazz Sundays, also with Black Dog and his friends. Head to the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Netherland on Saturday, November 16th to see the Al Capones opening for Gasoline Lollipops. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. And finally, Pick your preference. If you want to head over to Gilpin County, then be sure to head over to the Very Nice Brewing Company location at 180 Jankowski Drive in Blackhawk on Friday, November 15th, starting at 6 p.m. to see Steve Weeks performing live, and on Saturday, November 16th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Share the Road performing live. If you're in the mood to head over to Netherland, then be sure to head over to 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Friday, November 15th, starting at 6 p.m. for the Lofty Pines, and on Saturday, November 16th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Aaron Mitchell performing live. Did we miss you or any of your performances? Do you want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountaineer. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. We've got a mega episode of Music of the Mountains planned for next week. In fact, it ended up becoming so massive that I think trying to edit and air it all for one episode is going to be an incredibly taxing endeavor. So I'm going to air part 1 of this week's Music of the Mountains podcast segment on Monday, and then air part 2 on Friday. So be sure to stick around next week for an awesome album performance. I am very excited. In the meantime, if you want to share this podcast episode or the other episodes around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com or to our primary homepage at the mtnear.com to find our archive and share whichever episodes you want. And if you have anything that you want to promote in the Peak to Peak area, whether you're coming over or you're a member of the Peak to Peak area, or you have a story that you want us to share, or you have advertising that you want us to put on the podcast, then be sure to email me at media@themountaineer.com and we will get something sorted for you. I will see you guys on Monday for part 1 of a very exciting Music of the Mountains episode. Have a great rest of your day!
Don't be troubled, my dear. I'm thinking of you. I've waited all night for a sign or a cue, but my poverty grew.
The song that you are currently listening to is both the opening and the title track for the Lofty Pines' debut album, Light at the Door, which you can stream wherever you get your music. You can learn more about the trio by going to their website at theloftypines.com and check out other material from both Ben Knighten and Darren Thornberry, members of the Lofty Pines, as solo performers and as part of the group Mercy Club. If you want to see the Lofty Pines performing live, then be sure to head over to the Very Nice Brewing location in Netherland on Friday, November 15th, starting at 6 p.m., or the Very Nice Brewing Company location in Gilpin on Saturday, December 14th, starting at 5 p.m.
Like a beggar I found, I was cold and alone. As the frost from the ground sent a chill to my bones, so I picked up my load and carried it home. Hey darling, there's a light at the door, but I don't know if you're home anymore. Hey darling, I know I will find the way to knock a little louder next time.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.